Sports Limelight. Good evening, Drew.
Hey, good evening, Bill. Just a little air drum in there.
How can you resist?
Yeah.
Well, a special music edition today.
Ooh, I love these.
Me too. I was thinking earlier today about the legacies of certain bands and bands that I once loved and still enjoy. But are they tarnished? What is a legacy with a band, and can the bloom be taken off the rose somewhat by what happens after? I'll give you 3 examples. Guns N' Roses, since their amazing peak in the early 90s, it was a pretty short period there, about 5 years of their greatness, to what they are now, which is just Axl Rose and, a bunch of other guys, and Chinese Democracy wasn't that good. So that's
Still isn't.
So that's example number 1. Example number 2, Aerosmith. Their last studio album was released in 2001. They've done an album of covers since, and a couple of one-offs to release, like along with greatest hits. They have like 10 to 15 different greatest hits albums
Sure.
they put out. But yet, they're still calling themselves a band, still saying they've been working on their new album for years.
Are they touring still?
They're still touring.
Okay.
And I do want to be fair, I haven't seen them on tour in the past 8 years ago. I saw them, so maybe they're still good on tour now. But and then the third example, Queen, which is now Brian May and Roger Taylor touring with Adam Lambert. I was okay with, I know they toured with Paul Rodgers in the last decade. Paul Rodgers, kind of a fellow old-time rocker who's been through the fire through the years. I was okay with that. Yet this one, it just kind of seems like they're getting a rent-a-singer. Like, who's the latest star? And let's just tour with him and make some money. And I've said to you before that I struggle between who am I to tell Brian May and Roger Taylor when to stop making music versus, you guys were so great and you're tarnishing your legacy. I think now with the Adam Lambert thing, I'm fully in the you're tarnishing your legacy crowd. So I wanted to get your reaction to all of these thoughts that I'm having.
All right. Well, when you talk about legacy, me personally, there's the peak years of the band and, how influential they were to people. And that's still there. That's never going to disappear. That's always there. That's what got you on the bandwagon, so to speak. And, things change. If bands want to evolve or change lineups, they can, as long as they're still making music and as long as it's still Queen by sound. I mean, lead singers are kind of touchy there. It's a touchy subject, but Brian May isn't dumb. I mean, he did choose Adam Lambert probably for a reason, but I don't know if I agree with the whole tarnishing. That's just probably a more fan bias. Maybe they just don't like change or whatever.
I've been guilty of that a lot in the past, not liking change, that's for sure.
Right.
Probably tarnishing is too strong. I think to put it into more words instead of just summing it up into one that shouldn't fit, I was listening to Aerosmith's Pump album from 1989 yesterday morning, and I thought, oh man, this is awesome. I love this album. Then I can't help but have the thought immediately following that, boy, it's a shame they really suck now, or it's a shame what happened to them since then.
Right. As long as the band is producing new music rather than just, living off their greatest hits, playing those songs every tour, I say keep on keeping on, You're rock stars, just play music.
Yeah, and what you said there, keep producing new music, I think maybe that really hits it for me, is because it's like an admission that I love them so much that I want to hold them to that higher standard. If it was a band I didn't care about, I wouldn't be, still yearning for their next album 11 years later. I just kind of give up on them. So I guess that's a kind of a silver lining from my point of view.
Yeah. Another band that had a lineup change was Rush.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
I mean, the first album was awesome, and they just got rid of their drummer.
And they still call Neil the new guy. I like that. That's funny sometimes, though.
Well, speaking of Rush, have you been listening to their new album?
Averaging about every other day.
I'm not that high yet, but it's getting some revolutions in my CD player.
What I just ranted about the previous few minutes, Rush is the opposite of that. Still going strong. 40 years almost they've been a band. I'd say they're once in a generation, but they've spanned many generations, so I guess that doesn't fit.
Yeah, I was looking at their discography on the website, and in 20 years, they had like 15 albums. And in the next 20 years, they only put out 5.
Yeah.
So they really knocked him out there. But speaking of this new album, what do you think?
I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's probably their best album in, dare I say, 30 years.
Wow. So since Moving Pictures, perhaps, for you?
Since Signals.
Yeah, I love Signals, too.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. It is hard to do that, though, because I'm not afraid to say this is their best album since that far back. Mm-hmm. Yet then I also think, oh, man, but I love Counterparts, and I love... Or if you want to rank the Rush albums...
Yeah. There's 20 of them.
Yeah, there's 20. What do you put on the bottom? Maybe Vapor Trails, but then, wait a minute, I love Vapor Trails.
Right,
so
yeah.
What do you do?
Just hearing it over and over again, what impresses me is how loud it is and how, forceful it is. It's like one of their hardest albums I've ever heard.
There's so much hard work in it. There's so much heart and emotion even. Mm-hmm. And if this is kind of the way you mentioned, the pacing has slowed down of their album releases. If this is the way they kind of have decided to do it to make themselves last, now releasing an album every 5 years, I have no problem with this.
Right.
I'll be, right back here in 2017 or 2018, ready for the next one.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Do you have a favorite song so far?
Well, I like the last song, The Garden.
That is my favorite right now too.
Yeah, and you know what? I also like the first song, Caravan. Just that great riff there in the front. Just boom, hits you like, hey, we're still here, we're still rocking.
They sure are. So about the first time since Wasting Light by Foo Fighters last year, where I've listened to an album this much. Mm-hmm. And Wasting Light I listened to every week, pretty much up to when Clockwork Angels came out. So
all right,
perfect timing there. Now, in thinking about the upcoming Rush concert that we're going to, November 25th, and Clockwork Angels, what songs do you want to hear most? Or would you like to hear them play the whole album?
If they could do that, that would be neat. That'd be neat. I think it obviously Caravan and The Garden would be cool to hear.
Yeah.
Also, is it Seven Cities of Gold?
Yep.
I'd like to hear that one.
Yeah, I would love to hear them play the full album too. A couple of months ago, I think we talked about what would you like to hear, and they played the whole Moving Pictures last time. Mm-hmm. And if you have to just kind of make an easy substitution there, I'd be happy if they played the whole Clockwork Angels album. And there's always one or two songs that kind of come out of nowhere. Like in the last tour, they played Presto. And there's got to be, I imagine there are songs that they're really proud of or that mean a lot to them.
Right.
That weren't, hit singles and that they haven't had the chance to play on tour. So I love when those come out.
I think it's cool that they play songs from their first album on tour.
Yeah.
Like Neil Peart's down with that.
Yeah, the new guy.
The new guy. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great album. Perfect for, Rush fans everywhere. And even just
Sure
the casual, I mean, anyone who's ever heard of Rush, I would suggest you pick it up too.
Yeah. If you don't know Rush very well, or if you have a preconceived notion of why you don't like Rush, I still recommend listening to Clockwork Angels. I think it's probably more, or you'll take to it more if you don't like Rush compared to most of their other albums. Mm-hmm. Some good news for us too. Geddy Lee said that they'll probably make a DVD of this tour as well.
Okay.
So I'll be sure to get that.
Make sure you bring your sign so we make the film.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you. It's interesting. Well, it's tough with Rush because if they ever changed another person in the band, I don't think they would ever keep going.
No, can't do it.
Yeah.
And that'll never happen because I think each of them have said Rush is these three, and without one of them, the band is over.
Right.
Like it was for their 3 or 4 year hiatus when Neil had his family tragedies and they just completely shut down. I also wanted to say that in trying to kind of recruit people to listen to Rush, the way I described them, I had a funny conversation with my brother. We'll make fun of the song Cherry Pie by Warren, often made fun of on the Adam Carolla podcast. And kind of the modern equivalent of that kind of empty, meaningless, lowest common denominator lyrics type of rock song. The modern equivalent of that seems to be Nickelback. So, and I put Rush as the exact opposite of that. Like, Rush has been criticized, for music nerds, and it's kind of, to me, it's like the highest common denominator. It's for, the
Well, if being a musical nerd is wrong, I don't want to be right.
That's right.
You know what? They're not even in the Hall of Fame.
At this point, I don't want them to be in that
I don't think they
stupid
care
Hall
either.
of Fame. Yeah. If they get elected for that like next year, I hope they politely decline. Say thank you, but no thanks.
We're in no rush to get there. I think we should end the show, Bill, with the tune from Clockwork Angels. What do you think?
Now we'll close with both of our favorite song from Clockwork Angels at the moment, The Garden.
Life's a garden, dig it.
Sports Limelight, thank you as always for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.
In the rising set of the sun, till the stars go spinning, spinning round the night. Oh, it is what it is, and forever. Each moment a memory in flight. The air of life while you breathe. The hours tick away, the cells tick away. The watchmaker's time up his sleeve. The hours tick away, they tick away. The measure of a life is a measure of love and despair. So hard to earn, so easily burn. Let the fullness of time, a garden to nurture and protect. The treasure of a life is a measure of love and despair. The way you live, the gifts that you give.